That's right, ladies and gents. Jake, aka Countdown Ended, coming to you live once again today. You're getting it twice in one day. That's a lot of action. I'm here with the one, the only, the man himself. Hold on, he's over this way. My true co-host, the legend, Spaz Phoenix. Welcome back. You were busy this weekend. We had you in the Dome. You were in Toronto for SmackDown and the Elimination Chamber. You got to actually, Liz saw the starting evolution of the count, but you saw the turn, my friend.
I did.
You got to witness the true heel turn of John Cena. So we're going to hear from you about everything Elimination Chamber and SmackDown and your whole weekend. And we're kind of going to go through and talk about Evolve. I mean, I was kind of not underwhelmed, but my expectations were pushed a little bit harder by what they said. They were going to have this kind of like legend zone at one point. That was a little underwhelming, and I get what they're going for, but it was like a little bit of a spicier maybe version of Level Up.
Yeah,
they did a good job.
Actually, I'd say it was a downsized version because Level Up was basically NXT with less story and hype and big names.
Yeah, it was just
whatnot.
matches.
This was actually we were talking about before we went. Hey, Casey, in the chat, what's going on?
What's going on, bud?
They actually did a pretty good job, as we were talking about before we came on the air, of making it smaller, making it a little claustrophobic. The setup is completely different from NXT. So we know it's still in the Performance Center, but they've at least given it its own look. The intentionally, like, really small, like, 1 or 2 rows of people crowd gives it a different feel. It makes it very echoey. I don't know if it came through, because I know you're watching. Again, it's a Canada-America thing. I'm watching on YouTube. You're watching on Tubi. To me, because there's hardly anybody in there, it sounds very echoey.
It sounded extremely echoey.
A lot of calling it in the ring, and a lot of ring sounds, if that makes sense.
And I noticed, especially in the opening women's tag match, a lot of calls being made live. They even had a moment that we'll get to that kind of stood out for me. You could see it was not a botch, but it was an unfortunate side effect of a little bit of an error, so I'll make sure to bring that up. But yeah, overall, it was a good introduction, a little bit hard to find. So what they did was, on the American side of things for Tubi, at 8 Eastern, they just uploaded the entire episode for you to watch. So it wasn't a live stream. It wasn't, I could have watched the very last match and then watched the first. I could have fast-forwarded to the whole thing if I would have liked to. They just uploaded it as an entire episode. Here, this is yours now. Come find it. I did have to search
kind of like
around.
a Netflix drop show.
Exactly. So I had to go and find it. So unlike Raw, where you watch it and it's segmented as live and then you can watch it late, this is just, hey, it's up, it's uploaded. There's the first episode. So it was about 47 minutes in total.
For me, and you were the one that had to tell me it was 47 minutes, but for us that are watching it on the YouTube side of things, it came up as a YouTube premiere. Click on it once it goes live type of idea. Like, we know it's not live, but they're dropping it as a premiere.
I thought it would be like not live, but live to watch, in the sense of like it wouldn't be fully uploaded. That's why I said, to see the end runtime, I was a bit shocked. I figured we'd get at least a full hour or maybe even 2 for the debut, but 47 minutes, not bad. They really just got to the meat on the bone, which was the matches. And they did a great job at introducing people, giving you a little bit of backstory. And they kept bringing up their names with their photos.
I'm glad you hit
the
on
matches.
that.
I'm happy they did that.
I like the very flashcard style of it. And I'm not going to take a dig just because it's Wednesday and this is running up against AEW. But one of the criticisms, especially early days of AEW, was so-and-so would make their debut and whatever. It's like, oh my God, it's so-and-so. Don't you know who that is?
Who is this? Who is this? Yeah, it's the Butcher. And the Blade. Don't you know them?
Every entrance they did here, on commentary, and I want to talk about commentary in a second as well. Here's a little bit of what they do. Here's a little bit of what they do outside of wrestling, even. And then throughout the match, it wasn't distracting. It wasn't like a show and tell thing, but they
Yes.
had like the flashcards
They
for
had the
each
graphics
wrestler,
that
like
would come
whenever
up,
people
and
came
yeah, it
up
would
and
give you a quick little rundown,
mm,
some stats, where they went to college, what their notable moments are, and
yeah.
little standout factoids that
I
you would
think
find
a
on the
lot of
back of a
the
card.
ladies in the first match had like NCAA qualifications of some description.
Yeah,
Not completely familiar with how all of that works, but
I mean, a
they
lot of
have
them are former
qualifications here and there.
independents and
Yeah,
upcoming, women's division talent. So Robert
I like
Stone,
that.
as you
Okay,
mentioned on
sorry.
commentary, Robert Stone, Peter Rosenberg on
I like them
commentary.
as a duo.
They sounded great in his capacity as the interviewers slash play-by-play. I thought he did a
Yeah.
great job.
He wasn't being him like his broadcaster self, like we see him on the kickoffs, where he's a little bit
No,
arrogant and not arrogant in not necessarily a bad way, just in a caricature kind
yes,
of way.
in his own character,
And as
yes.
much as we love NXT, Robert Stone, Mr. Robert Stone is quite a character as well. So when we heard them announce themselves, and I'm like, okay, is this going to be like a character study on commentary? And it really wasn't. They found a groove. They kind of stuck with it. Um, the other guy that they had on the outside, whose name I've already forgotten, that was doing the interviews,
Yeah,
seemed like a more like he didn't seem like a super prim and proper. Here's my microphone. Let me ask you a question, please. He sounded like another dude that was new, just like the wrestlers are new. So
yes.
the few interviews that he did just sounded like he was chilling with his fellow new people. I thought
Yeah.
that was a pretty cool thing. Commentary, I thought was great.
Commentary was top notch tonight, and I appreciate that they gave a history package on Evolve. They didn't make it like, hey, this is a brand new thing, never been done
Yeah.
before. Like, hey, no, this Evolve has been here for a lot of the talent to come in and either hone their craft or make a name for themselves. This is nothing new, but we're going to take it in a little bit of a new direction and
See,
do
and I like
something
that they
different with
gave
it.
they didn't try to claim that they were reinventing the wheel either. They gave that little video package on what the old Evolve was, which was cool for me because I didn't watch the old Evolve. The one Evolve thing that I saw was the one Evolve pay-per-view that they put on the WWE network, when they were counter producing or whatever.
Yeah.
And for the most part, the only reason I watched that is because Shotzi was on it. And to me, at that time, Shotzi was a Destiny star that I
Yes.
had just met at Destiny. Check it off your Past Phoenix bucket list. It's fine.
Get that one off of there. Check that off quick. I wasn't familiar with because they had their as I mentioned before, their VIP section, and I was curious to see who they would put there. So they had It's Gal, who's from the ID program. I'm not familiar with him, so interesting choice. And then they obviously had Luca Crisafino.
I like that as a touch.
That was a good touch. Have a notable NXT
works.
star work as kind of a top tier talent to,
It works both ways, though.
Yes.
Here's the thing, and this is where several different levels of WWE kind of works. Because Luca Crisafino, I like in the ring. He looks he kind of fights like Italian Karrion Kross a little bit.
He's believable,
but
he's a scrapper.
He's a scrapper. He's got believability, even though he's playing a caricature along with the rest of the Mafia characters and all that kind of thing.
Hey,
he's got believability in his face, and he's got intensity that I believe his intensity a little bit more than I believe Tony D's, if I'm completely honest. Tony D having a bad night last night.
He was having a bad night. Lost his title to Shawn Spears. We all saw that coming as soon as we knew it was the main event, especially. That gave it the death note. But Crisafino, I've enjoyed.
Quick prediction on that.
Yeah.
Transitional champion to get that belt on to Ricky Saints.
Yes, absolutely. That's the
them
plan
meeting
for
in the
Stand
back,
and
doing
Deliver.
the whole hey, haven't I seen you somewhere before?
That was a beautiful thing.
Okay, good a time as any to say anybody listening or watching right now, head on over to my channel. Recording tomorrow should be dropping Friday morning. We will be doing a full and extensive preview on Roadblock and talking about all the developments in actual NXT, seeing as this is kind of
on the
NXT
build to
Junior.
Stand and Deliver, my friend. Oi, oi, oi.
Roadblock.
Well, I mean, they're building to Stand and Deliver.
Oh,
yeah. So that's kind of the joy of it. We got Roadblock, and then they're building to Stand and Deliver. Oi, oi, oi. They're getting themselves started. So that's their big show. So you can see what's coming down the pipeline, a la Starks. Well, I should say Saints and Shawn Spears. I like their backstage interaction. NXT was great, and as Spaz said, head over to his channel because tomorrow night we'll be talking about everything to do with NXT. Having the Hardys over there has been surreal as the TNA champions because they get the they get the welcome home chance, but they also get the hey, we're also TNA is our home as well, and we're representing TNA, so it's got that dual love to it, and that was going back to your original point.
It was interesting hearing them say like it's good to be home in WWE. While they're TNA wrestlers still.
I get where they're going, and because they're representing TNA.
Nobody's going to make a big deal out of that. But
no, certainly not. But this harkens back to your point you were saying with the dual nature of it. So not only is Luca a notable name that gets the product over, but it also gets him over in the product because it allows him more time that he wouldn't get on NXT TV to develop his character.
Well, it does, sort of.
Yeah.
Because I think the character that he's developing in NXT is somebody who is useful in a group, useful to his leader, useful to Tony D'Angelo and whatever.
Yeah.
But he's one of a group. If he's going to get a chance to sort of be down in, I'm already saying down, but in Evolve.
Yes.
With a specific task of like keeping an eye on talent and whatever, it gives him time to shine as an individual.
Oh, absolutely.
Have his sort of a group persona over here, have a solo persona over here. But also, he's a name from NXT. Yeah. And also, if the storyline is, hey, my boss has sent me down to keep an eye on you guys, that elevates everybody that he lays his eyes on.
Exactly. Because when I say more time develop, I'm saying that he gets more ring time, more promo time, more talk time, all of it. It's very well handled. And like Brian Pearson said in the chat, it's just like the one they had on Friday nights after SmackDown on Peacock for a half hour that didn't last long. I think they have more plans with Evolve, though. It seems like whatever they're doing is not being rushed into. Like every time something worked in the past few years that Vince was still there, he immediately rushed into it. Oh, this is a thing. People are liking the Cruiserweight Classic. Let's do 205 Live, and he would bum rush it, and then it would fall apart because there wasn't any longevity to it. He eventually had Enzo Amore, holding the belt, and then he was from there. It was kind of like, well, what else? No one cares past him.
I don't think they beat you over the head with, oh my God, this is the next big thing. I think of all the different forms of content WWE has created, this to me was very passive, very light, there's already a lot of content. For anybody out there that wants a little bit more, here's a little bit more. For anybody that wants to see people a little bit before you normally would, here it is. I think it's like the layout of it and the look of it is like almost intentionally a bit shindy.
Yes.
Just to set it aside. Yes. Be like, we're not saying
that's why it's in that warehouse. There's not like a ton of production value. They have, you can tell it has production value. It's not, again, something thrown together, but it's definitely on a lower level.
But there's not a lot of bells and whistles and pyro and stuff like that.
Exactly. I like that they give the people, time to speak as far as the talent goes as well. They interviewed people. They gave them time either like backstage or before or after their matches. And the matches were entertaining. So we started off right away. We had Kendall Gray and Carly Bright taking on Callie Armstrong and Danny Palmer. And one of the things I wanted to note, Danny Palmer gets her finish at one point, and Kendall Gray had to kick out because Carly Bright didn't break the pin in time. So you saw Kendall like 1, 2, and then this 3 is about to come down. She kicks out, and then Carly hits it after she already kicked out. So that was unfortunate because they were trying to make Danny look strong there. So you could tell on the fly it was a bit of a botch.
But I don't think, okay, and this is going to be a hair-splitting type thing, right?
Right down the middle.
Whenever there's a pinfall going on in a tag match, 2 things should be happening, right? Your partner should have your back in case you can't kick out, and you should be trying to kick out. So if one or both of those things happens, like if I kick out by myself and while I'm kicking out, my partner was also on their way to help me just in case, I don't think those 2 things necessarily cancel each other out, especially in a, hey, here's new people trying to figure shit out sense. But even if we had that on a big stage, on a pay-per-view, like Austin Theory is about to pin Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston does manage to kick out, but Woods was still on his way to break up the pin just in case he couldn't. I think both things can be true. I don't think it probably was a botch as far as what was planned, but as far as a logical storytelling thing, both of those things happening at once doesn't necessarily butt up against itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad by any means, just
No.
something that I noticed. You know, it was
Mm,
something that stood out like, hey, look, they were trying to protect her finish there because you can see they
mm,
have plans for Danny Palmer. She was kind
mm,
of like the standout in the match for me, anyways. The dive to the outside, her ferocity, the faces, she sold really well.
mm.
You know, and then her having the tap in the end, obviously, to the armbar. I really appreciated what they told the women. Having Kendall and Carly cut those promos afterwards, where Kendall says she's going to take everybody over, and Carly said they're going to be friends. It gave you a bit of like, oh, cool, we can kind of see them work together again. A
Mm.
little bit of perspective on everybody. Later in the night to end the show, we
Well,
saw
because
Kelly
they
Armstrong be
even went over to
mad.
TNA as a tag team for a night,
Yeah,
answering a open challenge not too long ago. I can't remember who they faced. I think it might have been during the Wendy Chu Rosemary partnership.
I think that was when it was. I think
Um,
you're right because I remember you bringing that up then, and
but But yeah, when they went over to when they were sending people over to TNA at random, I was like, let's use the people we're not necessarily using. And if you go down the list,
exactly
when Shawn, I know we didn't actually start from the beginning, but it was cool to see the little pep talk Shawn Michaels gave
to the
everybody,
roster. Yeah, right. You know.
welcome and all that sort of thing. Because
I
we
like how
know,
they booked the matches kind of on the fly for the beginning of the show.
mm,
Like nobody knew, like, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're getting, and you guys got to earn it going forward. You know, and
mm,
him and Ava spoke at the end saying like, hey, you're the boss, but I got some ideas for next week, and she's like, yeah, I've got some plans.
mm.
So it's cool that they have kind of a continuity thing here where people are working to earn their spot
But
on this
they've
show.
established a world pretty quickly as
Yes,
well. They've established a world that's not entirely disconnected from NXT, but still sort of exists on its own. We know Shawn Michaels is like the head of talent development and whatever, and he's kind of got a place in NXT, but really the GM is Ava. And for him to sort of be there for the groundbreaking on this new show and say, you know what, just for tonight, I'm going to set up the main event and whatever. And then after the main event is over, what does he do? He hands the keys over to Ava. So the rumors that we've heard that Ava's going to get a push, so to speak. I don't think she's getting back in the ring, but now in kayfabe, she's running two shows.
yeah, exactly.
It's
No,
like, but it's like the
just what we want, giving her more to do, right?
I don't mind her, man. I know
I don't
a
either,
lot
but a
of
lot of
people
people
give her
give her
shit.
hell. It's fun. It's kind
A
of
lot of
fun to
people give
keep
her the
with it.
nepo baby shit, and a lot of people like say she's like, "Oh, you're doing this because you can't wrestle anymore." Okay, so if you can't wrestle, you find something else you can do. What's
I don't
wrong
think
with
she's
that?
bad at being the GM so far.
No,
She's worked well in her roles. So
I will say, like, the criticism that people have of her is that she's not always the most charismatic personality
yeah,
is valid, but also as a authority figure, you should be a pretty plain-faced, equal level person. So whatever she lacks in charisma could be slotted into, oh, I'm just acting professional. You know.
exactly.
But I mean,
Then
we use the common example of Corey Graves when Corey Graves got hurt, and they wasted no time saying, okay, if you can't wrestle anymore, we're going to use you as a personality. We're going to get you on commentary.
same thing with
And
Daniel. They put him as the
mm,
GM on SmackDown. Like
mm,
they did these things. Same thing with Paige. Same thing. You
I
know.
think I think
Yeah.
I will say though, maybe I'm a bit biased. I think out of those stories, I think Corey Graves is by far the most successful.
Did she get injured though, or was it just?
Who, Ava?
Yeah,
I think they realized
she just wasn't
she
working.
wasn't hitting a stride in the ring,
Yeah,
but
because
they
with the
so they
Schism
figured,
group, it wasn't
yeah.
great. She was just never getting to.
I've always said, wouldn't it be great if she was going to be the GM on screen, have her in a non-competitive role. For all we know, she could be in the performance center with all these young people,
She could be. I would have put
up
her
in her
on
ring game,
Mask
and
and
she
on
could,
Tubi, you know, like they did
yeah,
with Jess. Put it,
with
you know,
Jessica Carr,
yeah.
who apparently was an indie wrestler before she became a referee. I didn't know that until the story came
I
out
was not
recently.
aware of that either until that came out. But you know, it's funny to see. So
But I
one of the
think,
people, yeah, go ahead.
but I do think it's great though. Like
Yeah,
it's a sort of a rolling theme where like Ava was a wrestler that didn't quite work, so they made her the GM. Stevie Turner was a wrestler, and I don't think they got her character off the ground very much, but she became like one of the sidekicks of Ava, the
Yeah.
general manager's assistant type thing. And if you follow her on Twitter, Instagram, etc., she does. I don't know whether it's a position or whether it's something she's decided to just say, like, I'm going to show my value here.
Yeah.
She does so much to hype up every episode of NXT that's coming up. Like, she's in the parking lot before the show starts. She was in the Performance Center. I don't know whether it happened today, but it was released today, talking about, to be or not to be, ha 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 ha, and all that kind of thing. So for her to be the hype person for NXT and then on screen be a sidekick for Ava, and then you got Robert Stone, who used to wrestle as Robbie E, who then came in and was a manager for a while, and he's also in like the management position, and now they're trying him in commentary. We said it from like day one of NXT. NXT doesn't just make wrestlers.
No.
Like, they make wrestlers, they make commentators, they make referees, they make backstage cast and all there. What's her name that just moved back over to TNA to be the ring announcer? I can't think of her name now. Shit. The one that came in when Jay Chung left.
Yeah, I always forget. God damn
I can't think of her name. But yeah, no, it's being spread around, and it's not just a wrestler factory. And immediately with Evolve, you got Sam Roberts, who we only really see on the kickoff shows, and they've sort of said, okay, it's not a full hour, but like, here's a show. Show us what you can do on commentary. And to have him and Robert Stone, not incredible, like not blow me away or anything like that, but like they've got pretty good chemistry for episode 1.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a pretty cool thing to almost look outside the ring to see what else they're developing.
Absolutely. So speaking of developing, I mean, next up, one of my favorites of the night we had here. So
Trill Williams, or sorry, Trill London. Sorry,
Trill London. He's not quite my favorite. So you could tell he was a.
You could tell he was going to be a spaz guy.
He was inspired by Jeff Hardy, as we said before. That was
big horror movie fan.
Big horror movie fan with the mask. Oh yeah, going to be a fun one to watch. But no, Keanu Carver. Damn, he looks like a very young, lean, super fast Mark Henry in the best way possible. Like, he's just got this ferocity.
Really, because my immediate thought was, like, if Obafemi ever wants to be a tag team wrestler.
Well, yeah, that he's got that cross. Like, he's got like that just total, like I said, ferocity. I wish I'm trying to think on the fly here, but like, it's impressive. He was so quick, so strong, and he just made Trill his bitch. The package they had before, he's coming up from the streets, he's lived a hard life, he's had to fight, scratch claw for everything, but he's backing it up. But I really was able to kind of connect to the way he told his own story. I appreciated that they gave us something beforehand, so you had some way to either love or hate the guy, and the way that he decimated Trill was super impressive. But here's one thing I noticed about him above all else. He's another one that is super, super powerful, but does so in a way that takes care of his opponent. Yes, he takes care of his opponent. So like when he was throwing him, or the landings were next to perfect, like the cleanest of landings for what you want to take for bumps. You can tell like he's not just using his strength and whipping a guy around the ring like some talent do. Unfortunately, like
Trill sold the pounce like he'd been like most people
flew.
say. But the thing is, like, most people, when you get a pounce or a spear or whatever, there's that metaphor of they've been cut in half.
Yeah.
Whereas he kind of did the opposite. He looked like he was folded by it.
Exactly. He went up and over. So that looked great. I like what they had to do here. You had It's Gal kind of flexing behind him afterwards and trying to steal his spotlight. So I'm sure we'll see a match. That's when Luca did his little interview with Rosenberg. Again, great.
I could have done without them saying like when they were interviewing. You just said his name. Crucifino, yes. And it's like he's already out there in the ringside area waiting to be interviewed. You didn't need to play his entrance music over the interview.
Yeah,
I thought if that was an intentional thing, I don't think it was a good one. If it was a sound gaff, then whatever. It's episode 1, right?
Exactly. We'll see what happens going forward. If they continue to play the music throughout, I hope they don't. You can do it for a quick little introduction, but that's about it. Then we got the main event. So we got Jack Cartwheel, Sean Legacy, and Cappuccino Jones, which you knew he was Cappuccino Jones because he came
was
out
carrying a
Cappuccino. Absolutely.
Cappuccinos and cartwheels.
They took on Jackson Drake, Brad Baylor, and Ricky Smokes. And this
Swipe right.
Right? And
I'm not gonna lie.
Graphic. Look at this shit. This graphic was great. So Brad and Ricky met at a college party. Brad Baylor's personal record is dating 18 girls in one college semester.
Nice.
Ricky's personal record is dating 12, only because he had a girlfriend. Like, this stuff. The character work
I missed
here,
that entirely.
Right? It's not something that it's just a little wink, a nod, something can happen, perfect, done. And these are the type of things that add to the match. They add to the feel, they add to the ambiance and the overall appearance of the Fed that is Evolve.
But this is what I like about, and please, I'm saying this in the most positive way possible. The fact that this was so downplayed and a bit shindy, like this is the kind of thing that works in there. Like if you took this swipe right thing and threw it on Dynamite or threw it on Raw or whatever, there's a good portion of the audience that's going to chew it up.
Yeah,
like
certainly.
It is like right now we have in Destiny a set of gigantic dudes that are luchadors in name only, but they're like Frankenstein doctor guys. So they come out in like medical. They're huge dudes. They come out in like medical scrubs, like a crazy doctor, but like with luchador masks on. So they're Los Medicos.
Yeah.
And their manager is a guy who also has a medical mask, like lucha mask thing, with the brain showing. So there's like a evil doctor, Frankenstein. These gigantic dudes. These gigantic dudes doing like luchador movesets and all that kind of thing. It's a lot of fun, and there are champions right now.
That's crazy.
But it would die a death on Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite or Collision, or everything dies a death on Dynamite. But
because that's one of those things that's made for a closed show, intimate group setting, typically, sub 1,000 people. Like, it works because everybody there has to be in on the kayfabe of it, you know what I mean? Like, and if you can suspend disbelief, you're there to have fun, you're going to enjoy yourself.
But the people that were there, and obviously, like, they've said, they've been pretty open about the fact that the Evolve crowd is like other wrestlers and the wrestlers' families and friends. So you're going to get a good reaction regardless. But the fact that they immediately got in on the gimmick and they were chanting shout left or swipe left to go immediately against the gimmick. Like, if somebody has bought your gimmick enough to go against it, then you've already won.
No doubt. And shout out to Go Hogs for life in the chat. Make sure you subscribe. You can catch me and Spaz and everybody else that joins in here. We're, constantly adding new shows to the ever-evolving schedule.
Evolving.
Right. Might be having our, drunk make fun of Revolution stream Saturday. We'll see. But, it seems like it's going that way. And then next week, of course, we have Roadblock. That's building up to be, just so damn good. Mm-hmm. The matches for that. Incredible. It's a week of debuts too. I mean, we have we had the debut of Daredevil last night, and then we had the debut of Evolve tonight. Did you watch Daredevil yet?
I did.
Is it good?
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna say.
Caveat.
Because you know how deep I am on the MCU, and
yes.
I'm also very opinionated on the MCU.
You opinionated never.
No, but most of the MCU is good. Most of the MCU at this point is like, you have to applaud them for what they've achieved, like right up to and including Endgame, right?
Yeah.
But there are misses. If you go back and you're honest with yourself, the first two Thor movies are kind of meh. If you go back into the original movies, I've never been a Captain America fan, so going back and watching those hardly doesn't happen. It builds to the bigger stuff, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
The first Captain Marvel was cringe as fuck. I enjoyed the second, the Marvels. I thought it was light-hearted, good-hearted stuff, but the things that people say bad about it are valid, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, you've got Deadpool, which is killing it. Doctor Strange is, again, it's the creepy stuff. It's right up my street. The
In
shows
your
on Disney,
wheelhouse.
the shows are pretty much 50-50. Guardians was kicking ass, even though they almost tried to cancel James Gunn. Here's the thing.
Tried.
I don't want to be beat over the head with other people's agenda in my entertainment.
Yeah.
I really
could have Captain America movie, unfortunately.
Yes. So, but if you saw Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and how super heavy-handed it was with a lot of the political statements, shall we say. Not to say that they didn't do some good storytelling in there and do some meaningful stuff and some building block stuff in there. It was all good. And I really like Anthony Mackie. I should say that, right? The movie was more of that, and way more of that than I thought. So I'm kind of like swiping that aside, right, apparently, and waiting for Thunderbolts. Now, outside of the MCU, sort of, was Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Punisher, Iron Fist, Defenders, all that kind of stuff. That was gritty, that was raw, that was like untouched by MCU hands, untouched by Disney hands.
Started on Netflix,
started on Netflix. Wasn't afraid to be violent and all that kind of thing. Created some characters that I really. Deborah Ann Wall is an amazing actress. Charlie Cox is a better Daredevil than Ben Affleck, but that doesn't really say very much.
It doesn't say much, but he is he's perfect.
Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is pretty great, and I think just in the 2 episodes that I've seen so far, it feels like he's dug into the character more now than he was before, which is really impressive. They've brought in some elements of, obviously, like the snap has happened and all that kind of stuff.
So there is some hope for Daredevil going.
There is some hope for it. It feels familiar. The characters feel connected. It does feel like a general beginning of season 4 as opposed to a debut.
Yeah.
The characters seem genuine. They're beating you over the head with "Don't worry, it's not PG."
Yes,
which is really cool. The fight coordinator is apparently the same team that worked on the original show, and it shows. The only
hallway scene from the first series, the original.
Oh yeah. There's if you haven't seen it yet, at the very beginning of episode 1 that dropped yesterday, there's a very similar type of quality scene.
Nice. Can't wait to check it out then.
The only thing about it that's bugging me right now, and it will probably fade over time, the production value is higher, so it looks too clean.
Gotcha.
It's not quite as dark, it's not quite as gritty.
But it's
not
there.
They haven't Disney'd it. They haven't pussified it. They haven't PG'd it. It's higher in quality.
So it could go really well, but it also could flounder. We've got to see what happens. But at least you've got some positive reviews of it. Because I was very apprehensive, like I was with Evolve. I'd probably give Evolve like a 7.5 tonight. Yeah. I don't know what ballpark you're in, but I wasn't blown away.
Here's the thing. I wasn't expecting very much. I was expecting something very, very low-key. And they gave me exactly what I thought it was going to be. Okay. I'm not gonna lie. It does present itself intentionally as a bit disposable. Yes. Am I going to watch it every week? Probably not.
I will probably catch up on it. I won't have to watch it every Wednesday at 8 immediately, but it will be something that I add into my.
Immediately, I like Trill London.
Yeah, I do want to see what happens with him. He's a bit of a spaz,
I know. I know Smiley Kylie Ray is there.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm holding judgment on that, so I see her, but she's had so many prior engagements that she's ruined because of her. I don't want to say mental health, but some form of issues. So we'll see what happens now, but.
You know what? I'm going to wait till she shows up on my screen, and I'll
That's
what
I'm saying. I'm
reserving
judgment. We'll see what happens. Danny Palmer, I was really impressed by. Same thing with Kendall Gray. I want to see more. They've got
Brindley Reese on the roster there as well.
Yeah, and like I said, Luca's a great match for this type of thing, and then Keanu Carver, I want to see more from him. I see. I'm wondering
if we see Stevie Turner back in the ring in this guise of a show. if
Makes
she's
you
not
wonder.
just going to be the publicity side of things. And I'm not going to lie, as much as you can be a fan of a referee, I'm a big fan of Jessica Carr. She's just if you follow
She's a
her on
great
social,
person. Yeah.
yeah, if you follow her on socials, she's a super positive, like motivational person. So the fact that she's, dropping the stripes and getting back in the ring in a competitive way has my curiosity piqued. I will be keeping, even if I don't watch every week, I will kind of keep an eye out of that just for curiosity's sake. But I think at this point, for WWE to not give you any more, oh my God, you have to keep in touch with that, to make this switch to, like I say, the more disposable, hey, if you haven't had enough yet, here's 45 more minutes,
Yeah.
rather than another essential show.
Exactly.
Is
It's just an
perfect.
add-on. It's not required viewing. It's, hey, if you want this, if you care about the future of NXT,
Yeah.
this is there for
If you
you.
want to see some people before the other people see somebody, if you want to get a head start on knowing who somebody is,
If
kind of
you're
thing.
excited for Roadblock and Stand and Deliver, bam. If you're looking forward to WrestleMania, Evolve is probably, something
Yeah.
good there for you. But I wanted to get to the real meat on the bone here, as we said before, which is
Switching
you, my
gears.
friend. We have to switch gears entirely and go back to
Hello in the chat
Elimination
to
Chamber.
TTSSYF.
We went ahead and we had a hell of a night. So WWE, as Pro Wrestling Bet said earlier, WWE shocked the world this year. They shocked with Jey Uso winning the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
They shocked with Cena turning heel. They followed it up by Io Sky defeating Rhea. Everyone thought that was a foregone conclusion. Rhea's going to be facing Bianca. That's all there is to it. And not so fast. I'm thinking it might turn into a fatal four-way, but they're unpredictable in a good way. Yeah, we can see.
Who are you thinking the fourth?
Jade would be involved there because I think Bianca was truly the mastermind, and it's not Naomi. I think we're going to see that Bianca set Naomi up. That's my guess. Because Naomi is currently out with
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Bejeweled neck brace at the Queen of Music premiere today or yesterday, so she had her neck brace on, so at least she's keeping up with kayfabe. But yeah, it's currently her. I think is going to be the mastermind. I think Bianca did it, and we'll see what happens. But all in all, he's right. They're sending the dirt sheets on weekly wild goose chases. They did put out that report that said at the Chamber The Rock was going to be the middle segment, him and Cody, and then it suddenly got changed on the night. Well, nothing was changed on the night. I don't think SmackDown was ever rewritten like it was. I think this is, obviously with him with the 3 at Bad Blood, this has been the plan all along. So you had a great time at SmackDown, obviously. What were your highlights from Friday?
I don't really have too many highlights because you got to understand, and this is where I said you got to ask me questions because I don't know where to start.
Well, I'm trying to probe you.
Thank you. At least you lubed it up this time.
That's right.
With SmackDown being in the Scotiabank Arena and the pay-per-view being in the Dome, I was in the building that I'm most familiar with on Friday because I'm at Scotiabank Arena a lot. Yes. Did I just lose you?
Nope, you didn't. We lost you for a second. I had to change over the feed.
Okay, there we go. Very easily distracted. So I was very much in my home building on Friday. I'm at Scotiabank a lot, doing the rounds before the show even actually started. Our newly re-elected Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, was walking around in Scotiabank Arena with a title belt over his shoulder, which was a little it was one of those, it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was just incredibly out of place and sort of like uncanny valley.
I did ironically ask if anybody had any crack. Maybe that was subconsciously in my mind still from seeing Rob there, it was
but we've
Doug Ford, excuse me.
I was gonna say Rob's not with us anymore. No. But no, just after this past week or so, we've just had our early provincial election. He's just been reelected, and now he's walking around with a Toronto Elimination Chamber title belt around the display cases where the Raptors belt was and the Maple Leafs belt was and the Blue Jays belt was and all that kind of stuff. So that was fun. Being in the Scotiabank Arena, like I said, is really, really familiar to me.
Yeah, it's your home away from home kind of feel to it.
It is. It's about as familiar to me as the Don Kolov when I go for a Destiny show, checking out Respect Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. So it was one of those, I hate to say it, but I mean it in a positive way. Like it's not a super special thing anymore. It's like I'm back in the Scotia, you know, like it is what it is. SmackDown was about what I say it was. I was on the back end of the WrestleMania sign. So some of my pictures that I sent you and that I posted online were a bit less picturesque than usual because I've just got the back of that big electrical
Yeah.
logo. The way they took out, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if something's up with Shinsuke or whatever the case may be, but they did a mini tournament to establish the number one contender for the United States Championship when it was supposed to be Shinsuke versus LA Knight on the night. But that was a lot of fun. Went the way we thought it was going to. LA Knight is the number one contender. He will go on to have that match eventually. The rest of the night was just, again, there's nothing wrong with this, but it was just a big kickoff for the pay-per-view the next day.
Yeah.
I was sat because half the time when I go to a wrestling show, I go solo or I go with one person. This weekend, I happened to be solo, and I was sat next to a kid and his dad, which is always like, you go to a show and there's like kids around and the excitement's infectious and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was talking,
just get into it.
So I was talking to the dad a little bit, and he used to watch like 20 years ago, and the kid's all excited. Oh, what about this? What's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? And dad's like, I don't know, buddy. I don't know. So I was like, I started talking to them, and I showed you, I had a buddy of mine that does vinyl work, was there working in the Sky Dome before the Elimination Chamber happened.
Yeah,
so
he had some
pictures of the construction of the chamber, and I'm like, hey, I'll show it to the kid. He might think it's cool, whatever the case may be. Started doing some impressions. Couple of big family in front of me, like 3 rows down, thought I was hilarious. So I had no voice before the show even started.
That's awesome.
So
that's
always pretty cool.
You just make yourself and get ingratiated with your neighbors around there, you know?
Yeah. Well, when I was at the Elimination Chamber on the next night, I was at the end of an aisle, like second last seat on an aisle in the 500s in the Sky Dome.
Yeah.
Dude sat next to me, was an older fella, French guy, also really excited. He was at the chamber when they did the Sammy Roman match.
Oh,
and he was running through, and he was constantly comparing like this show to that show. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, let me tell you what happened after the stuff went off the air when that show was going on. I'm like, okay, cool. And he sort of like got excited,
trading war stories.
Yeah, well, but because he was French, right? And I'm Canadian. Oh. I should know English and French, and I don't. Absolutely not. But like as he got more and more excited, he like stopped speaking English.
Yeah, it just comes out.
It was just the guy just got excited and whatever and all this kind of thing. But I lost my voice, dude. It was less so at Elimination Chamber. It was less so like getting into individual chants. Like there was no LA Knight, so you didn't have a yeah. There wasn't a yeet chant. There wasn't a
it was just
the amount of times
stuff out.
If you can picture, if I tell you that the Sky Dome has very, very steep seating.
Yes.
So every seat has a bar in front of it. Like there's a bar between you and the seat, just so you have something like a railing to grab onto. The amount of times on Saturday that I was grabbing that bar and just doing the whole like the flex yell, the let's fucking go.
Yeah, getting into it
so many times.
See, I was glad that they have that bar. I've been in like really steep seating before for the arena style, and you're just like leaning the whole time, and you feel a bit disoriented, like you're gonna fall, and there's nothing there to catch you.
The thing about it is, though, it's why, and it's not quite as drastic in Scotia, obviously, because it's a much smaller building.
Yeah,
but there's not really a bad seat.
No, usually
there's not really a bad
seat. It's usually not too bad. So
it's not like other like concert venues where you go and you're like behind the post and you got a little bit of a discount because what they call an obstructed view is really you looking at a pole.
Yeah, it's you looking at a gigantic beam that supports the stage or something. Exactly.
But yeah, no, I said it because I mean there's stuff coming out of the Elimination Chamber results wise that I wasn't crazy about, but like when you're there you don't care.
No, Bianca winning. How did that go over for you? The women's match I thought was really good. You must have been pretty into Jade's attack. No, that was a good surprise.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Where we were as well, if anybody has followed me on social media, whatever, you've seen the entrances, they were making their, like they've done in other stadiums. There was no big stage. Obviously, you guys saw that if you were watching the show. They were entering from the baseball dugout. But where I was sitting was behind that. So I was watching people walk out and away from me kind of as they were going to the ring. So when I heard the music echoes in a big arena, you didn't quite know that it was Jade's right away. And then people realized
here's Punk coming out. They can see where you're looking from right here.
Yeah. Now if you can see that obviously where the curve is and whatever, as you're looking straight down there, that's the top of the dugout where people are coming out. Now you can see in the background there, the other thing that really threw me when I first went in there, because I've been saying nostalgia, 23 years ago, I was there for WrestleMania and it was full, right?
Yeah,
if you look in the back of that, you can see where the baseball field kind of goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and it's full of people, and then it stops. And then there's just a blank ass bit of floor where they stopped sectioning stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as you look further back, there was just nothing. And like, it shouldn't bug me and I shouldn't let it like, ruin the show or whatever. But I was just like, that big, ugly, empty space in the back.
Yeah, it could have been
just because I was looking at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if you see the on the video there that you're showing, the Tron that was over the ring, the one that held the chamber inside.
Yes.
If you look past that, there's the actual Skydome Jumbotron.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a TV the whole night. Like there was
I've sat in that same pretty much seat where you are right there quite like half a dozen times.
Yeah.
I've done it for Raw, I've done it for SmackDown, I did it for a couple of pay-per-views.
Yeah.
We did it for not Money in the Bank, we did it for NXT, the Takeover 25 there.
Yeah.
And usually, if the stage is obstructed, it's a cheaper seat. So I've done both where like you can't see the stage and when you can. And where you are is perfect because you can still see the Tron, you can see everybody coming out, you still get the pyro, you just kind of miss some of the stage effects, but no one gives a shit about that because you got the LED boards and they're walking up. You have an exact great line of sight for the ring though.
Yep. And the thing about it is, like I say, like if you've ever seen the any other sports that are played at the Skydome, I don't know if you watch baseball or not or whatever, the Jumbotron in Skydome, that's actually part of the Skydome building, is gigantic.
And you can see when Liv is coming out here where you have a great view of things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that building is
it's huge. So we did have a big TV showing us what was being shown. If you guys were watching it on TV, the funny thing about it is when we were at what do you call it? When we were at Scotiabank on Friday for SmackDown, it had the little USA logo in the corner of the Tron that was showing the action. That's cool. like looking like, well, it is, except like we don't watch it on USA.
Yeah, you guys don't have it there. That's why
we were in Canada getting your USA feed.
Yes, very cool though.
But no, it was really good. What I will say is everybody says, like, whether it's Hell in a Cell, whether it's Elimination Chamber, whether it's a cage match, whether it's whatever. And the one thing is, oh man, is it going to be hard to see because it's in a cage, it's in a structure, and I'm so far back, whatever. What I will say, what was surprising to me, because I've never been there for an Elimination Chamber live
obviously.
Before, but it wasn't hard to see.
No, the redesign of the chamber now, the way they've done it over since whenever they redesigned it, was like 2018, something like that. Whenever they brought it back and they redesigned it,
they made it square,
a bit smaller, and they kind of cut off some of the sides of it. This way they could fit it into arenas, because the other one, the problem was it wouldn't fit into most arenas, and they had
it was big, and it was the big circle.
Yeah.
It was funny though, just because what I hadn't thought of is
they made the spacing bigger in between where the chain link is, so it's easier to see through. And then they have different like angles unobstructed for people. It was funny. I guess Punk's light above him, the bar.
Yeah, he was
light,
fighting with it. I didn't notice it until
kept
afterwards.
falling down and falling down. And he had to keep putting it back up. I guess that's funny. But
what I found was interesting, and I had to go back when I got home to watch it to see if it was actually showing on television or whether it was just for us. When they did the countdowns to let the next person into the chamber, and you didn't get that boom, 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 boom. It was like that weird, like whirring friggin' UFO
noise.
Sound.
Yeah, it was
whatever.
Weird.
I'm like, what the fuck was that? And yeah, it is lit up like a Christmas tree. I could have done without that. But I completely changed my dynamic on what the viewing issue was. I went into it the entire time thinking, okay, my problem's going to be being able to see all the action in the structure and whatever. And there was none of that. What I did have a problem with though is the fact, and it didn't occur to me till the first one started. It's a multi-person match.
Yeah.
And I was having a hard time seeing where the storytelling focus of the match was at any
Yeah.
one time, because you're
Yeah.
watching from above and you
Exactly.
and you can see everything. And
So you might be watching Logan and Punk punching each other, but really it's John and that kind of idea doing
yeah,
something big over there. Yeah, and
where
you can't always
where
tell
is
where your
the
attention's supposed to be drawn. That's the problem with the Rumble too.
yeah. That's what but that's what TV does though. TV kind of tells you where you should be looking because that's where
Yes.
your camera goes.
That was one of the comments I made with Liz before, that WWE is so top notch, and with Kevin Dunn, it felt a bit more Bush League. Now they're getting these, I hate to use the word cinematic, but it is these angles, these shots. I mean, that was seen as best acting with the heel turn, and we'll get into that. But
Yeah, we will.
the way they shot it with The Rock doing the visceral throat cut and having the great zoom in, and like the cameras, the handhelds knew where to be. Everything was in place. It was rehearsed, you could tell, because it was important and it had to be telegraphed properly. I loved what they gave us there. How did you feel about the tag match with Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus taking on, we saw obviously the heels get beat.
I think it was what it
Nia and
was.
Candice
I
made a
think it
decent
was
showing, but
a great way to boost Tiffany Stratton. Really good excuse to have Trish Stratus appear in Toronto 2 nights in a row. What's her name? Nia Jax and Candice LeRae are great heels. It was just nice. It was much like we said about Evolve earlier. Like, it was kind of filler that never pretended to not be filler, but
yes.
still had some niceness to it because you had the hometown girl in there, whatever. Trish
It
Stratus
was
coming
kind of
out.
the wind down moment, but yet it wasn't, because they wanted to get the fans behind Trish being there. It elevated Tiffy. I thought it was a lot of fun. But like you said, it knew its place. It didn't last long.
Yep.
It was in, it was out, it was done, and it was effective for the crowd. Got the crowd going. So
Yep.
I thought it
And
was solid.
the crowd was, I don't know how it came across on TV. The crowd was insane, obviously, for Trish Stratus, but
Yes,
the ovation sustained for Tiffany Stratton as well,
which was great.
which
Yeah,
was
no doubt
great,
about
and
it.
which I didn't know whether that would happen or not. Like, the other negative thing, and I won't dwell on this because I kind of rolled my eyes at it. Before the show even started, when they had the young lady in the ring there doing both anthems, and she got booed out of the building, and we're up here, and I'm thinking, like, you guys are idiots. Fuck off. We're all here for a show. Like,
Yeah.
it is what
I
it
wish
is.
they weren't booing the Canadian. The Canadians weren't booing the American national anthem, just like America shouldn't be booing the Canadian national anthem. I
Yeah,
think that's ridiculous. So.
I think. Oh, I don't know whether I should dwell on this or not. Up here, we kind of have the idea that we can carry ourselves as, oh, we're the good guys because we're not them. And it's like, as soon as you try to label yourself the good guy, I immediately think you're up to something shady or something shitty or whatever the case may be. And it's just like, I'm watching everybody around. And I don't know about closer to the ring, but in my section, it wasn't just like them booing the anthem. Like, they were shouting like fucking really bad shit at the chick that was singing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's just here to do a job, guys.
Exactly. Like,
And
don't
like
don't boo her.
2 seconds later, you're cheering her because now she's doing the Canada anthem. Like, what are we doing here?
I'm glad that Pat laid into the crowd and was like, "You guys are, idiots and shouldn't be
Yeah.
booing."
And he
I
took it
thought
back.
was.
I don't think he should have had to
I
take
don't
it
think
back.
he should have taken it back. You can tell he got some guff for it, but I'm glad that he brought it up
Why,
and
though?
glad that he spoke his mind.
Yeah. And
Apparently
it's one of
over
those,
on
like,
the
I'm not trying to play like defense to the Americans because that's not my place at all. I'm not in your shoes, you're not in mine. But
no.
like, I'm looking around at, like, I don't want to get really pontificative here, but like, I'm looking around here at my people and being like, how about we don't be dicks?
Yeah, no
Like,
kidding.
it is what it is.
So we're trying, like, you look at one of the top angles in WWE with Cody and Cena turning heel and everything that happened.
Yeah.
The top angle, if you're looking at it with the champion AEW, is supposed to be the champions, the Death Riders. They just had, right now as we're going on, I'm trying to keep an eye on Revolution as well, and they had Cope take on Wheeler Yuta.
Oh,
So we
no.
all thought here he concertoed the other two members of the Death Rider. He took out Claudio. He took out Pac. He had Willow take out Marina Shafir. Everybody's done. He's going to kill Yuta. They had the match. He beat him, and then they shook hands and walked off. because that's going to teach him respect. So then Wheeler Yuta left Moxley, and Moxley was like, "You can't teach him respect. I'm going to be the one to pull the trigger," and he pie-faced him and walked into the back. So talk about losing momentum. Talk about being obsessed with trying to get Wheeler Yuta over for no reason at all. It's just the dichotomy, the difference. I saw JD getting, as I showed you, some shit on Twitter, but he's not wrong. Interest in AEW is
I was gonna say I don't always fall in line with JD, but some of the shit he's been saying recently.
No, he's not wrong. And then, I mean, we'll get into your take on, obviously, the heel turn, but one of the things I've been dying to hear your take on. So actually, I'll save it, but I will give you. It's Meltzer's explanation of the heel turn, and I want you to hear that in a bit. So we'll get into it. But obviously, next up we had Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. This was absolutely as brutal could be. I see why they didn't have blood, because they were saving it for Cody, and Rock is real old school with that, but I'm fine with that. This didn't even need it. This was brutal enough without blood. These men put themselves through hell. I love that it finished off with the pop-up powerbomb and the ring apron. Talk about storytelling.
Yep.
I mean, this goes back to him turning on El Generico as Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor, and then again on in
NXT in his debut.
Exactly. So we mentioned that during the review. It was just this perfect side piece to the entree. It was just a great match, encapsulated by a great moment. They really just sold it strong. They made it special. Honestly, I was thrilled at how great both men looked, and now it gives a chance for Sammy to have some time off and to advance the story with Randy Orton returning. You guys were nuts for his return, going for the punt. Tell me, what are your thoughts on this match, especially live? I'm dying to know.
Okay, I'm going to go kind of backwards here. Take us how you please. I'm really glad anytime I hear a response for Randy Orton like we got on Saturday, because he's been one of the constants in WWE forever, but he went through a long period of time where he was just like the boring WWE style wrestler. And like he would come out and people would roll their eyes, or, oh, remember that one bad match he had with Triple H? And it's like, well, okay, if you're holding on to one bad match, then I don't know what to tell you. So Randy Orton, A, getting sort of the response that he deserves, and B, really looking like he's getting a chance to enjoy the appreciation that he's getting.
You're absolutely right about that. It's
twice a win for me.
I don't want to change your point really quick. I just want to make note of the fact that I think WWE fans and wrestling fans in general have also gotten more accepting of the work that people put their bodies through and the level to which they sacrifice themselves. And we're like, yeah, Randy's always worked that safe style, but he's been so consistent and pretty much not injured because of the way he took care of himself for the most part.
Yeah.
And he has been a face, a heel, everything they've needed him to be for over 2 decades now at this point. And it shows. So fan appreciation has certainly changed in that aspect too. You're not just looking at him like he's got this boring wealth of matches, certainly.
But since he's been receiving that type of appreciation, he looks like somebody who's taken 20 years to feel comfortable in his own skin.
He's rejuvenated,
not to make a snake, and obviously he's in like fucking best shape of his life as well. But I think there's that thing, even John Cena, who we couldn't stand forever and ever and ever, and you reach a point where like you've had this much longevity, I kind of don't have a choice but to respect you.
You're not wrong. And at this point in time, I also want to go ahead and mention that right at this very moment, AEW Dynamite is trending with 16,000 posts, but Tubi is also trending with 7,000. So they have roughly almost half of what Dynamite has for the developmental, you know?
The Wednesday Night War is back.
Wednesday Night War has returned. I don't know if Tubi will put out, numbers, but I thought Rosenberg was really impressive.
Yeah,
as well.
Like I say, him and Robert Stone is a half decent little commentary team there.
I liked him there. So going back to it, yes, Randy Orton getting the praise, getting the flowers he deserves. It has rejuvenated him. It makes him look more alive and gets him into it a bit more. Like he really, like, not that he's not trying, but you see more effort and more selling and more of that. Like you started to see it a bit more where he was having fun finally when he got out of the Fiend stuff, and then he was doing everything with Riddle. and RK Bro, and he was laughing and being silly, and that really helped elevate his
and
respect
see,
with the
funny thing
fans
about
too.
it is not to say that he's not trying, because clearly he is, but I think for so many years where he was pushing against the grain and pushing against the people that didn't want to give him that recognition, like he was getting to a point of almost being try hard instead of trying hard. And I think what's happening now is he's relaxing. Now that could be totally like me editorializing it and seeing something that's not there, but I think he's just, like I say, like not trying, but not trying in that, oh my God, why isn't this working? I have to push harder. I have to push harder. I have to push. Like he's comfortable in his skin and he looks like he's relaxed. Obviously, he's playing a pissed off character. He's playing in this story that is like supercharged and emotional and whatever. But I think from the performer's point of view, he's just I'm just gonna come in and do my stuff, man. The people that are going to appreciate it are going to appreciate it, and I think that's awesome.
Speaking of appreciation and people coming in, we got Mastodon and Super Nerd CM613 in the chat. Shout out to both of you sexy bastards, keeping the Banana Army strong. Yeah,
trying to get better at keeping an eye on the chat as well.
Randy Orton doing a great job and just bringing it back to that RKO out of nowhere, like spontaneous love for him feel. He went with the meme and got himself over even more, and now it just continues to grow. His star is ever rising.
Big old RKO party. Yeah. I like the fact that they are...
I love that they, like, that was part of the thing. Hey, you kind of ruined my return with Punk, so this time give me everybody you can RKO possible. I want you to get me as many, indie talent that's willing to take a good RKO. And I even like how he shook the one guy's hand, then hit him. Like,
and then he hit him. Yeah. See, that's what I mean, though. Like, that's like...
They had a lot of those moments.
You can do that when you're a little bit more laid back, though. My thing, though, is going forward, like... He's having fun. He's glad to be back. He's going to smoke anybody in his sight, but he's also got the serious side. That's very nice of you to say, Super Nerd.
Bringing back fond memories indeed.
But to switch gears from, I'm just going to RKO some security guards for the hell of it, to teasing bringing back the punt and not giving it to us, because that's going to get a crack and pop at WrestleMania, because these guys are fighting.
That's Chekhov's gun in this scenario. That is going to be when he finally gets that punt off. It's going to be magical. I can't wait a
minute. So you mean it's going to work because we're being patient and we're not doing everything all at once?
I heard we're telling stories as time goes on, and we're letting things develop.
I heard the best analogy ever comparing WWF where did I get WWF from?
Right.
WWE and AEW. And I was listening to you know Simon Miller, obviously, but he has a long form podcast where he's got a couple of other indie wrestlers that are on there with him talking, and they were making a comparison between WWE and AEW, and I don't remember what the specific thing was. I think they might have been talking about the package pile driver. And one of the guys said, "Oh, you're going to have to give me a minute because this comparison isn't going to make any sense." When I was younger, I used to think it was hysterical to walk into a room naked because it would get a pop, it would get a gigantic reaction, and da-da-da-da.
Yes.
In AEW, they're just sitting around naked all the time. And I'm like, that makes no sense unless you're a wrestling fan. That's the kind of analogy that only makes sense in our crazy world. I'm losing my headset. Don't mind me.
You're not going to be able to react to this live. I apologize with the audio snafus, but I want to play a very little bit of this because you made a comparison here, and Jon Stewart went ahead. He did a fun little segment, so I edited a little bit just to pitch it up so we don't have to worry about any copyright. But I just want to bring this up really quick because he makes some great comparisons here about the political climate and how to explain the heel turn to those not either keeping up or ever watching wrestling.
Oh, no.
And it's pretty great. So let's go ahead and check this out really quick. It's about a minute long.
The current WWE champion is one Cody Rhodes. 7 people say around. Cody Rhodes is the people's champ. Unquestioned bravery. He stands in for Zelensky in this metaphor. A couple of weeks ago, The Rock, the now evil owner of the WWE, Putin in our story, made Cody Rhodes an offer. For I have the support of the great John Cena! So, Cody Rhodes, Zelensky, told Vladimir Putin, Rock, no soul for you, motherfucker! And that's when they met in the Oval Office. America went to hug Zelensky, but when America looked up, somehow Putin had given John Cena the international sign for
Sorry, I shouldn't be live streaming
And
and
rather
typing at the
than
same time.
repudiate Putin, America smelled what The Rock was cooking. And through that borsty haze, America delivered the nut shot. The nut shot to the hopes and dreams of Ukrainians everywhere.
I don't know when your thing's
So
done
they
playing.
delivered the nut shot to the hopes and dreams to Ukrainians everywhere. And he's right, you know, because he said that The Rock is Putin and Zelensky is Cody, and obviously Trump is Cena. And it was just this great comparison. It's really funny, and you know, I'm glad to see wrestling be in the mainstream again. And John Cena's heel turn did that. We had to listen to the Chipmunk version. I apologize, but it was worth bringing up. And
I saw a thing a while ago. I've shown you a couple clips here and there from the Shits and Gigs guys.
Yes.
If you like comedy and just generic like whateverisms of the internet guys, go check out Shits and Gigs. It's the it's spelled like it sounds, except for the I in shit is an X. But they were doing like top 10 like most savage moments on TV or whatever. And do you know what they brought up as one of their clips?
What's that?
Stephanie McMahon going to shake CM Punk's hand, and CM Punk when he goes, "I would, but I know where that's been."
Yeah. And that's such a great classic.
And it is still that thing of, this is a thing that I watch that's not wrestling. And anytime the thing that you like that's not wrestling references wrestling,
yeah, exactly.
It's a thing. Like I think I said to you before, CBC radio, which is like the government sponsored radio in our area. I don't know how better to explain it than that. It's basically news, weather, sports, repeat most of the time. The leading up to Elimination Chamber, they had a guy there that I think is like one of their financial guys, but like also happens to be a wrestling fan. So why don't you tell us why we should give a shit about this? And then he talked about it for a little bit, talked about the history, talked about old Maple Leaf Pro that's now back. They played a little bit of a clip of interview from I think Sami Zayn, and I think Trish Stratus was mentioned as well. So it's one of those anytime regular life acknowledges wrestling.
Yeah,
it's still, even though wrestling
pops me. Absolutely, it pops me.
But it's so funny though, because even though now wrestling has its fingers in everything, like you're I popped myself again. But no, like you're interacting with musicians, you're interacting with Hollywood, you're interacting with other forms of media, social media. Now you're on Netflix, right? Exactly. You're as mainstream gets. But still, when the regular world talks about it, it's still a cool thing. And I don't think that'll ever not be true.
It might never not be true. And when you see like Community Notes comes in, or you see, you know, fun little things online, like you said, that isn't in the wrestling bubble, but it borrows from it.
Yeah.
Still always pops you. And we got a lot of that today, too, with the news of all of the additions for the season of 2K25. You sent me the DLC list. And
I can't believe they have Abyss.
Abyss is a huge name. Travis Orndorff, obviously Paul's son, went ahead and tweeted out that I pray this gives you as much joy as it does me to have the opportunity to continue on my father's legacy.
Nice.
You know, just a lot of great things. And obviously the highlight of everything was the heel turn. So we had a really great men's chamber. I thought it was damn
I will say,
good.
sorry,
a lot of great storytelling.
I just wanted to finish off my thoughts.
Please.
We talked about the Randy return, but we didn't actually talk about the KO match that much.
Yeah.
I will say the match was great in the ring. Pretty predictably, to say, like, for me in the live crowd, when they brawl into the crowd and it's harder to see and you're trying to make out where things are and whatnot, takes away from the live audience did go down purely because you can't see where they are. You can't make stuff out necessarily.
Exactly. Then you're just watching a screen. So
the one thing, well, even that was not immediate. They weren't super great on that for us for a couple of minutes. There was a chant from the lower deck while they were brawling, basically saying, fight over here, like different sections wanted them to fight in their section,
Yeah.
which was kind of a cool thing to follow. But even that, with the echo, you couldn't exactly tell where it was. Once it got back in the ring, it was fantastic. These guys are willing to kill each other.
Oh my God! The multiple table stunts, the barbed wire chairs, the Falcon Arrow on the chairs, like the way they pulled out all the stops and just truly beat the hell out of each other was fantastic.
The absolutely video game worthy double table spot.
Yeah. The table that had all the stuff on it that Owens went through, that was a great spot too, off to the side.
I want to know what you think of this, because I've heard a theory.
Yes.
Because people are speculating. You know, obviously KO is going to face Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Where does that leave Sami Zayn? Yeah. There's always this fun idea that Sami Zayn is going to go off and have a mini run up to WrestleMania type of thing with Karrion Kross. But on TV they're saying like, oh, he's re-injured his neck again. We don't know when he'll be back.
He's got nerve issues, and
so.
It could be that he's not at Mania.
I'm hearing a theory that he just like scraps this Mania completely because there's a really big swell of support for the idea. I mean, nobody likes the fact that Rumble next year is happening in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But if you can get something good out of a Saudi Arabia Royal Rumble, is next year the year that Sami Zayn wins the Rumble?
Yeah, to finally have him become WWE champion. I mean, they've wanted to pull that trigger for a while with him. You saw the fan support when he went up against Roman. He could have won that night.
But it's like when they first started doing the Saudi shows, and they still had Mansoor on their roster, and they always made a way to have something for him to do, which was really nice when you consider where he was on the card and everything.
No doubt.
The only other person that's had like a sort of, as you would say, like a positive experience going to Saudi Arabia was Sami Zayn, because he wasn't able to, and then he was able to, and all that kind of thing.
Exactly. So
if there's any time to do it and any winner to pick for that particular Rumble, which is going to be under all kinds of criticism anyway, we can't avoid that. The idea of Sami Zayn wins the Rumble and then goes on to New Orleans next year to properly main event.
What his trajectory would end up being is great. It's just about how we get there, but I wouldn't hate it, certainly. I mean, if there's someone more deserving by that time, we'll see. But as of right now, having Sami finally go on to get the title is a story all in itself, and I think that'd be great. It's kind of a repeat what they did with the IC title, and they could do it all over again on a bigger scale.
But when you look at, I like the idea because so many people, when the Saudi shows start happening, and there's a huge conversation always to be had around the Saudi shows and should they be there, and the political conversations around that. The conversation's kind of been done to death, but it definitely still needs to be acknowledged. It's one of those. But I mean, there's only really one person that could like celebrate that win, because everybody else has a little bit of that cloud over, like, I don't know, should I be here when this Saudi Arabia deal is done? If I win here, is it even going to matter? Is it going to be scrubbed from the memory banks, or whatever the case may? Is it going to get Benoit, right? Where you've got one person on the roster for whom that victory could be really positive, really affirming, really validating, whatever positive words you want to use.
It doesn't just add momentum; it has longevity in the records as well, and it would also be a great kickoff for NXT Ukraine too. So I mean, there's a lot there that we could get, and I think
if he's getting that next year, I would like. I want to see the thing with him and Kross this year, because I think Kross, while he's not wrestled in months, is still one of the most entertaining people on TV.
They have him being the devil on the shoulder of everybody right now. Now he did it with AJ, and it's just a very interesting character. They supposedly have, according to the dirt sheets, which who knows with them anymore, they have big plans going forward with Kross. I believe it.
Well, the dirt sheets told us that Drew McIntyre was going to win the Chamber.
They did. I think they were intentionally misled a lot for the Chamber, so that no one would see what's coming. And
one of two things.
I don't know if I love it or hate it. Are they telling them, hey, this is what's really going to happen, but we're going to have you report this, or are they just feeding them a bunch of bullshit? I'm not sure, but it seems like they're making everybody run like chickens with their head cut off at this point in time. Like, they don't want secrets to be out, so they're just not letting people report things. Because think about how many times we've gone into Mania knowing who's going to win, knowing what the card is, knowing what... And it's like a foregone conclusion. Like, there's no reason to guess. There is no surprise. Brock's retaining. Like, we know these things.
Yep.
One of the posts, and we'll bring it up in a minute, like I said, with Meltzer, just kind of grasping at things to try and justify his decisions and his justifications, I guess you're trying to justify as well. But, I mean, I told you, he went to Collision, not Elimination Chamber.
He's been tweeting and deleting from what I hear.
A lot. So,
but the one thing I will say is, if Karrion Kross, because we've heard the last couple of people in Guantanamo Bay have finally been released,
yes.
So we might be getting Aleister Black, we might be getting Rey Fenix, etc. What was I going to say now? If Karrion Kross is not facing Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, can I propose to you this? Karrion Kross and Aleister Black versus the New Day versus the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah, they have things kind of built in there that could work excellently, and that's kind of the thing with like the New Day and LWO thing going on right now. I can see them adding Phoenix and Penta and kind of making it a bigger thing. If you add Cross to the New Day, then the sides even up. It makes sense, especially off of what I was given before and making predictions. I had mentioned the LWO versus New Day in +1, so Cross is a great addition to the heels.
You know what I think as well, and I didn't think of this until just now, because we've seen in the past little while, obviously with Dragon Lee, obviously with Penta, obviously they've always had Rey. They're going to get Rey Fenix as well.
Yeah.
There's been years in the past where WrestleMania, they haven't really done anything with the tag division. They've just done like the tag team showcase to get the tag teams on the card. What if this year they did the Lucha Brothers versus Rey and Dragon Lee just as a Lucha showcase?
I wouldn't hate that either. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We have a lot of predictions to go for Mania. I went over earlier with Liz some predictions.
I know I've seen. I haven't caught up with some of the other stuff that you've done.
You know, but there's so many. Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many crazy predictions, and all of them are not that crazy because they work somewhere along the lines. They fit, and that's why I love this men's chamber, honestly, because every participant
did we talk about the ladies' chamber at the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, we talked briefly. We didn't go too much into it, but.
The return of Jade, awesome. Taking out Naomi, that's half the battle.
Exactly.
That's
why we said, Bianca seems to be the mastermind of it all.
I will say, and I'm happy. Obviously, Liv Morgan. People are coming around on Liv Morgan. I got something to say about that in a second. It's really genuinely like heartfelt to see the response that Alexa Bliss is getting since she's come back.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was. I'm not going to lie, like, other than, like, the big names that were in the main event, Alexa Bliss honestly got one of the biggest pops of the night when she came out.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. She was probably one of the biggest, especially on the women's side.
But I will say there was a shift because people were behind Alexa in the match. People popped, obviously, for the insertion of Jade Cargill.
Yeah.
I would have loved, because they've done it in the past, the precedent was set with Edge years and years and years ago. I would have loved if after Jade took out Naomi, she took Naomi's spot in the chamber.
I wish that was the case too, but
it is what it is. I will say the crowd seem to be genuinely behind Alexa Bliss. They seem to be genuinely behind Liv Morgan. There was a roar when those two ladies faced off.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes me believe, because you're not going to get Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan one-on-one at WrestleMania because Liv Morgan's a tag team champion.
I think they're going to defend it at Stand and Deliver. Oy. I think that's
fine. That's fine, but I've got something else for you as well. Alexa Bliss, they're already teasing the reconnection with the Wyatt Six.
Yeah, they've been doing little glitches.
Wyatt Six has been missing in action, but
he's been injured. So people are saying that he left the company. No, he's been injured. So he's cleared now.
But there's another lady in the Wyatt Six is where I'm going with this.
Yes.
So if you're not going to get Alexa Bliss versus Liv Morgan, why not get Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross back on the same side and have them go for the tag titles on behalf of the Wyatt Six?
Yeah, they're
As
previous
a way,
champions. That could be, they have history together. There's a lot of fun that you can do there. What's going on, Danielson, in the chat? Thank you, guys. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, because we'll be having more live content coming up. As we said, AEW Revolution will be live for, as well as Roadblock next week, and we'll be having our preview for that on the Spaz Phoenix YouTube channel.
Yeah,
All
we
the
will.
links in the description down below. Bianca winning, not the best, but I see where they're kind of going with it. I think there's a lot more story to tell there, and they still have time. So
I missed the stare down between the three ladies after the match because shortly after, when I don't know what the timing was on television, but shortly after she got the pinfall win, they flashed up the graphic that the next thing coming up was going to be the ladies tag, which, as I say, was a lot of fun, but it was the least important thing on the card. There was a massive move after the first chamber ended of people like flooding out, getting drinks, going to the washroom, whatever, because they wanted to be back for the bigger matches. So what I didn't see was Bianca Belair getting all her pyro, having the stare down with Rhea, having the stare down with Io, and all that kind of thing. I saw that on the replay.
Well, hey, but you didn't miss too much, but it was a cool moment, no doubt.
Yeah,
so
I would like to see it, because the idea of her staring down Ripley and then Io just kind of popping up between the two of them, and then obviously what we saw on Raw.
And everyone thinking that Io is such a foregone conclusion, but I kept saying she's never been beaten by Rhea. There's more here than people are sinking their teeth into. So
okay, I know you and I have talked about it. Yeah. The backstage post Raw promo interview with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, oh, she's so pushed. She's Rhea Hogan. She's such a monster. Go watch that interview that she did after Raw.
One of the best promos she's cut in a long time, talking about being isolated and it's her fault. She caused all of this. You know, she attacked Liv by being blinded by, retaliation and retribution, and that screwed over Io, which led to her getting the match, which led to her losing the title. So, I mean, she should be going to Mania if she didn't cost her. And it's this great story of like, well, you're getting, basically the consequences for your actions, and now you're fully isolated. Judgment Day, you ruled with an iron fist for a long time. You had support, and you took down other people, and now you've got nobody. So, and that was the thing with Cody. I played the video earlier of Cody's friends. Cody's had some not so great friends throughout time. He's been betrayed by every single one of them. AJ, Brock,
and if you think about it, Liv Morgan got her final win over Rhea Ripley without even being involved in the match.
Yes.
If you think about it, because what did she say? The Liv Morgan revenge tour, right? You're going to have no man, you're going to have no family, you're going to have no friends, you're going to have no title.
You're going to have nothing.
Because because if you think about it, the one friend she had left was Damian Priest, who's moved to SmackDown.
Yes, and it also, they kind of teased/announced that Raquel is going to be going after Lyra for that title. So that's the plan for that.
Don't know how excited I am about that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no doubt. But
no disrespect to Raquel. She's great in a tag team match. She's great for a hot tag. She's great as a heater. As an individual wrestler, I know she's been through a lot personally. I don't wish any bad on her, obviously.
No, but it is a bit boring.
She's one of the ones that's more entertaining as part of a group.
Yes.
More than Liv.
She needs to be the added attractions at this
point.
And
Liv's character does benefit from being the type of person that has Raquel in her back pocket.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now with The Rock having Cena in his back pocket, this men's chamber, I'm sorry, this blew me away. I love having everyone be so interchangeable. I said it earlier, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but that was my favorite thing about the Attitude Era. No matter what, like even if it was Rock and Austin in the main event, Triple H still had a really good story, and Big Show was doing stuff with Boss Man, and Val Venus was choppy. Like everybody had something memorable. Everybody was doing something.
Too Cool was over.
Exactly. And now we're having that again where everybody in this match could have won. Even if Logan did win, it wouldn't have been the best decision by any means, but you could have had it made sense. Everything here
it would have. The thing about it is like Logan's a shit disturber, but everybody else in the match had a story with each other. If they would have had to do it really carefully, right?
Yes. But I'm saying there's a way to get there.
You could have had a situation where all 5 of the other guys in the match are so obsessed with each other. The way they say about Drew McIntyre a lot. If all 5 of them are so obsessed with each other, oh my God, we've all taken each other down so much that this dickhead is now going to WrestleMania.
Exactly. And it used to be even 5-6 years ago where we would get Chambers and you're like, oh, I know exactly what's going down. I know who's winning. I know who's going to Mania. And it didn't matter. And this year, theoretically, you had, a few people that were going to win, but there was also dark horses in there. It felt believable. Priest could have won it. I'm not saying, again, would have been the best choice, but it wasn't necessarily Cena's game the entire time. I more thought Punk than Cena anyways. So they did a great job at curtailing.
I will say, before the turn, right? Before the turn, they got rid of the 3 other guys in the match, right? Like, they got rid of Drew, they got rid of Logan Paul, they got rid of Damian Priest. You came down to who you think would have been the heavy hitters.
Yes.
Of Seth, Cena, and Punk, right?
Yeah.
And I respect the shit out of Seth. I don't think that guy gets nearly the credit that he deserves. In this match, in this second half of the match, do you know who he reminded me of?
Who?
The Hurricane.
Okay.
Do you remember the Rumble? Where it was either Rock and Austin or Rock and Triple H.
It was Austin and Triple H.
Was it Austin and Triple H? Where they were fighting each other.
Trip, and then they started to fight.
He just kept on popping up. And they would basically like pie him off, like fuck off, and then go back to facing each other.
Yeah,
that was the dynamic between the two of them.
Double choke slam them. Yeah, because they were worried about each other, and I like the part later on too. But it told a great story because they hug, and then you get the handshake that turns into the GTS that leads to the AA. But it's like, oh, he took advantage of the handshake into the GTS.
I like the fact that the two of them together in Canada pulled off a heart attack.
Yes, and then going ahead and having
nobody sold it.
Having Cena capitalize on Seth still wasn't a heel turn, because you could say he's still winning the match fairly and he's
capitalizing on Punk. You mean?
Yes, you know what I meant. And Seth's stomp.
Okay,
on
I see
Punk,
what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah. So it was great the way they set it up. They told an amazing story now because we didn't want to see Punk and Rollins again. I didn't have interest in that. Now I want to see the cage match coming up this Monday night on Raw from Madison Square Garden. Cody's going to be there.
Man, it seems like there's a lot of things going on in Madison Square Garden.
There are back to back. We're going to have the Raw show and then at the what is it
the theater at Madison Square.
There we go.
I don't care. It's NXT at Madison Square Garden.
That it is. They're going to be there.
You know what I find really funny though?
What's that?
You could say whatever you want about NXT, but looking as far as Monday Night Raw can sell out Madison Square Garden, and they don't even have to work with another company.
No, and they go. I think they could have probably put NXT in MSG and probably sold it. Not sold it out, but sold a really good show. Without much of a, because this card is incredible for Roadblock alone.
Oh, we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow night.
It's one of those cards that's as interesting behind the scenes as it is on screen.
Absolutely, there's so many implications and possibilities and chances and things that can happen. I'm truly blown away. Like I said, Cody will be there at Raw, so we'll get some insight from him. I'm just in love with everything they're giving us right now. It's a wrestling renaissance. Not everything's perfect. We still don't have the full Mania card, and I'm happy about that. They said there's going to be more surprises, we heard, after the Elimination Chamber. People are like, yeah, what? And then Rhea lost. How many times has, like I said before, that been a foregone conclusion? No one had given Io a chance there. They all thought, it's just Rhea and Bianca. So, I mean, even
think of the chances that they've taken already, right? Like personally, I wouldn't call it a chance, but a lot of people are saying it's a chance. Giving the Rumble to Jey Uso is the ultimate vote of confidence, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, Rhea Ripley is the most over woman in that company. I don't care what you say.
She's the top star.
Cry on Twitter. Females. She's the rock star of that division. So pulling her out almost at the 11th hour of the title. Now she might be back in. There might be a triple threat match. We don't know.
We don't know.
But at the moment, you've pulled your biggest star out of the Mania title match.
Yes.
That's a gamble. That's a gamble.
You turn John Cena heel. And like
there
I
we
said
go. That's
before,
where I was going as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, my friend, to jump on your, whole point here, but my God, it cannot be overstated. The fact that people are saying, yeah, the Hogan turn might have been bigger in terms of what it did for the wrestling business itself, but I think this is bigger as far as like pop culture and the wider audience is considered. Everybody knows John Cena's name. Everybody's aware of him. Everybody knows hustle, loyalty, respect. You can't see him. He's the good guy. Make a wish, all of that. This goes and defies everything. And why? There's such a simple explanation. It's because he's obsessed with breaking the record. He wants that title. He said it. He said it in the press conference. It is what's best for business. Vince trained him for years. What's best for business.
We've got apparently, according to Byron Cutler in the chat, this Friday and next Monday, 4 matches are being made official for WrestleMania: Jade versus Naomi, Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross, and CM Punk versus Roman versus Seth.
We'll see if that's true. If that's the case,
I think those are a lot of trails that we're already going down. But if we treat SmackDown and Raw as like back-to-back shows, even though they're not technically back-to-back shows, that's a hell of a set of 4 matches to announce in 48 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not so sold those will be exactly what's announced yet. I think they're going to hold off a little bit longer on some of it, but
I said this to you before online, and I think I know where you're going to lean from here.
Yeah.
With Punk, Roman, and Seth, right?
Yes.
Like I want to see Seth versus Punk, right? But I would rather see Punk versus Roman, Roman versus Seth, or Seth versus Punk than like any of those combinations rather than the triple threat.
I'm in the same boat, and especially with me, I wanted something bigger for Punk. I like the idea of Punk versus Rock. I mean, that makes so much sense. It burns me. Meltzer, the tweet
I got more investment in, and I'm not saying you don't, but I feel I always go into stuff feeling like I have more investment in Seth Rollins than most people. I'm 100% down for another round of CM Punk Seth Rollins.
I would be too if they weren't doing the cage match this Monday.
But this is where like Punk won on the
so
right?
Then obviously
it's going to be the
might
rubber
win
match
here, and then they can have the final of Mania. But
what I suggested, and it would be incredible overbooking, and it wouldn't exactly make 100% sense, because CM Punk and Seth Rollins are both such prideful, psychotic people.
Yes.
I think a good stipulation that would work for the two of them would be an I Quit match, right?
That's a great thing because Punk said, "I'll never quit." He did mention that in the promo.
But here's the carrot, though. Here's the carrot, though. Is both of them, for different reasons, hate The Rock and hate what The Rock has done, and they were both kind of robbed at Chamber, blah 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 blah, right? CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, I Quit match, night 1. Whoever the winner is of that match, whatever's left of them, gets added to Cody Cena.
Yeah. I would love that too. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to add anyone to Cody or Cena.
No, I don't think they will. I'm not really high on triple threat matches because
I am very high, and I'm telling you, I'm not high on triple threat matches. I'm not crazy.
This is the WrestleMania that feels like there's going to be a lot of triple threat or multi-person matches.
Yeah, I'm still not sure we'll get Jade and Naomi. I think we might get the 4-way. We'll see what happens, but I'm curious too. Like you said. Is it where Roman comes to get revenge on Seth and that costs Punk the match and that leads to their triple threat? Because it seems like that's direction where they're headed is the triple threat. I don't want it, but I'm not going to hate it if we get it. I'm just not as excited. WCV LA says, when's the Cena and Cody contract signing? We'll probably get that overseas in a couple weeks. So we'll see Cena on some of the shows coming up in a few weeks' time for SmackDown and Raw. It'll be interesting.
There's a bit of me that just wants to leave the. I know it doesn't do good for storytelling, right? I don't want to hear from Cena, like at all. Okay. I don't want to hear from him. Period. Like the way he came out, and we thought he was going to describe his actions after the show when he went to the press conference. When he just came out and he took the mic and he put the mic down.
He said all he had to say before. It's best for business.
This is true too, right? But this is before. But you and I said this before in another pod.
Yeah.
What he said at the end of the night on what was it, at the end of the Rumble when he declared himself for the Chamber.
Yes.
At any given time, you could have spun what he said into arrogance or confidence, right?
Exactly. You could go either which way.
You could go either which way, right? So, but what I'm saying now is the whole idea, oh, he sold his soul to The Rock. Well, if he sold his soul, then he's dead inside. And if he's dead inside, then he doesn't have anything to say because he doesn't think he needs to say anything. So I want him to walk out of the Elimination Chamber, walk out of Skydome last Saturday, and walk into WrestleMania.
I don't think that's
Silence.
what we're going to get.
I don't think we're going to get it because Promotional Machine needs to promote.
Yeah, but I look at this tweet from Meltzer that got deleted long after. He said the motivation is that Dwayne wanted Cody, legit, saying that he really wanted him, but it became an issue in the back. Basically, Paul Levesque said absolutely thought it was a terrible idea. In a fight with Dwayne, with Nick as arbiter, he lost every time, meaning The Rock always loses with Nick as the arbiter. So Triple H gets the idea that, hey, you're not going to get Cody for real. So, however, several convinced Cody to simply refuse, so Art was a lot like life at this time. Dwayne wouldn't go after Cody politically, so he let it go. Cena was the second choice, and Cena was fine. Punk was never asked. This seems like complete and total horseshit. Dave grasping at
the idea
something,
that
he deleted it. I mean, come on.
The idea that turning Cena heel after 20 years was their second choice, I don't know, man.
I don't believe that. They had this plan since Bad Blood, it seemed. It seems like this is something that's been in the works for a while. They wouldn't just turn Cena heel on a whim. This is something that's been in the works, something they wanted to do, especially with this being his retirement year. You think he's going to go into it being like, oh, you're just going to turn me heel now? There's no way they got him to agree to it if it wasn't something he wanted to do, especially with his character in his final year. You're not telling me this wasn't fully planned, and rightfully so.
You know what I thought of as well, right?
What's that?
And it was just like, oh, it's the most thought of thing. Like nobody would have predicted, blah blah blah, right?
Yes.
Do you think that The Rock tries to put, if we are going to see Cena in between?
Yeah.
The idea would be, oh, what works better than anything else? Cody's finally all on his own because he's pissed off everybody else at one time or another.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be cool if John Cena, the last guy in the world that ever needs backup other than Moose, fuck the system, but The Rock decides that John Cena needs backup just in case. And to back up the guy that you never thought would turn heel, you bring in the two other guys that we also thought would never turn heel. And now Cena is backed by heel New Day.
Yeah, I mean, that could work. I see people saying Fatu is a good addition since he was already kind of in that enforcer role with Solo.
Yeah.
It seems like we're going to get him in Solo at Mania as well, for at least how they're building with him cutting him off and keep interrupting. But it's obvious bullshit, and you see Meltzer saying these things, and it's like, it's upsetting. And then you have... what's his name? Eric Bischoff retweeted that saying, he's a dipshit and he's a clown. So it was kind of funny to see, but I don't know. It's been amazing to see this reaction to the heel turn, to everything that, really gave us goosebumps and was unexpected and truly unprecedented. I didn't see it happening. I didn't see Turner seeing heel being a real thing. Could we have pictured it? Sure. But for it to truly, more than just be fathomed and become an actual reality, that's why I get to live vicariously through you, my friend, because you were there in person. You got to witness history.
And shout out to Trek earlier today who sent me a quick message on one of my videos, and he just said, what was it like when in the building when Cena turned heel?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it because I knew we were going to be talking about this tonight. It was not like any other pop that we had in the night, in the sense that it was really loud, but also it was really quiet. it kind of got that mixed, like, oh my God, it's happening. Oh my God, it's
loud because
happening.
people were gasping almost, like it was audible, but the air was
It
taken out
was
of the room at the same
comparable.
time.
People are going to think I'm straying into hyperbole here, but the vibe when it happened, because there was a build up to it and then it happened, right?
And at first was shock and then acceptance.
It was comparable to like when Taker lost his streak and nobody really cheered and it was just quiet, right? Now imagine if
at first everyone was like, "Oh," because the bell rang and they were just like, "Wait, what?" And then the shock set in, and you had the one guy in the crowd doing
the bug eyes, right?
Yeah, and
now
everybody
imagine,
cut to him. You know, at the chamber as well, they had a bug eye reaction.
Yeah.
So
now imagine when Taker lost his streak, if somebody came to you like 10 seconds ahead of time and said, "You're not going to believe what's about to happen."
Yeah.
And then you go through the disbelief and then the thing, because it was weird, and I suck at describing things, but like it was it was quiet. It was quiet and loud. It was quiet and loud all at once. It was really,
kind of like a car crash in a way, where there's all this noise around you. You got sirens and bodies and screams,
and there was no music, playing, right?
Yeah, it's
so
just
while everybody was leaving, I would say either Infinity War, Joker, or Logan. How those movies just end on those movies just end and everybody just kind of leaves the theater really quietly. That was the feeling leaving Skydome.
That's a great comparison, you know, and you see all that they gave us to hint on it, to build up on the way, and everything Triple H does is intentional. You know, we had Stone Cold tweet out last year in Santa's podcast, "Hey, if you need help, Cody this year," and people immediately threw that into the mix. I mean, anything is possible, and that's why I'm so excited, because it's not outlandish to say, hey, Austin could come try and save the day, or it could not be, and it could be Punk. We could see Punk and Roman take on Rock and Cena. We could see Cody and Punk. We could see Cody and Roman. We could see no tag matches and it just be Cody and Cena.
See, here's the thing. With so many different people involved, from The Rock to Cena to Cody to friends of Cody to Bloodline to people that were on Cody's side because they didn't like the Bloodline, to this to that to the next, people are already saying like, oh, it could be like last year, anything could happen, right? The Roman Cody thing, right? But the Roman Cody thing, where everybody got involved because everybody had a piece in the story and everybody had a punch to get in and everybody had a loop to sew up and whatever. That kind of, like, again, I keep saying, like, that kind of end game type of ending works once.
Yeah.
You cannot, I will almost be frustrated. They cannot go into this year's WrestleMania and think, oh, let's just do that again.
Yeah, no doubt.
That kind of, like, let's create the natural chaos coming to a natural end after 4 years.
Yeah, they don't have that kind of build up.
It can't be developed in 6 weeks.
And, you know, I played it before. I kind of want to play it again now quickly. But, you know, we have so many options and parallels, and no one came out to help Cody either. Yep. I saw people screaming in the arena, "Who's coming? Who's coming out? Why is no one helping?" You know, one of my favorite lines that we got was Punk when they go to open his door. He's like, "I know it's me. Open the fucking door." Like, you know, the little funny additions that you get watching at home instead of live. But like you said, that loud, quiet reaction certainly sums it up. And we've seen, you know, what we've gotten from him. I had to adjust the audio, but, you know, just time and time again have we seen everybody.
Cody, go fuck yourself. Yeah.
And it's been continuing.
Do you know what I think is funny though, right? Because you talk about all the intertwining stories, and everybody in that chamber match hated everybody else, right? Why is my phone beeping? Why is that a thing? Mm-hmm. The heel turn and what happened after, and like Cena winning and immediately going into that segment. They could have done this segment on a Raw, on a SmackDown, whatever. Like, the fact that they did it right afterwards was a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
You forget about the pipe bomb, right? And you forget about the CM Punk pipe bomb. Nobody remembers that the CM Punk pipe bomb took place at the end of a shitty Raw roulette, spin the wheel, make the deal episode of Raw. They remember the thing. I think any problems that anybody had with the chamber, or this person should have won, that person should have won, I think Punk should have won. It is what it is. People downplaying the contributions of like a Damian Priest or a Logan Paul or whatever the case may be, right? That's going to fade into the background eventually. But
eventually,
I do want to address, because there's a sort of a two-headed point that I want to make here, right? If you're The Rock in storyline, there are story gaps in what happened on Saturday, right?
Yes.
What would have happened if John Cena hadn't won the chamber? Like, how would it have worked?
Yeah, exactly.
What would he have done if Cody had said yes? Would he say, sorry, John, I don't need you?
Mm-hmm.
What would have happened if Punk had won and Cody had said no and Rock went to Punk and da-da-da-da?
I think The Rock kind of had a few contingencies. If Cody joined him, it was going to be a good celebration. We'll get to Mania, and I'll help you keep the title. But if not, John's going to
But here's my point, though, right? Is you look at that and you say, oh, The Rock had a grand plan. Well, for The Rock's plan to win, he would have had to go in, make the offer to Cody, knowing that he was going to say no, knowing that John Cena was going to win, knowing that Rollins was going to help John Cena win, knowing that John Cena would say yes.
How do you know The Rock didn't make an offer to multiple people? He could have made an offer to Punk behind the scenes. He could have made an offer to John. He could have made an offer. So in case anybody won that wasn't the right opponent, he then has a chance to ask them. I mean, that's the thing now and then.
It's true.
Anything is beyond logical fallacy. So
my point is I would gladly sit here all day and talk about, like, hey, wrestling is a thing that I love, but that means that I'm going to rip it apart 10 times worse than somebody that doesn't like wrestling, right?
Oh, absolutely.
10 times out of 10,
I'm all fine with written up plot holes too. That's just not one I find a problem with. I think there's other things that have issues. My thing
is there's 100 plot holes in this initially, right?
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. You know what the other side of that is? You know what the other side of that is, in this case? I don't give a shit.
Exactly. It's wrestling, and you're supposed to have things not fully explained. It's not a TV show. It's not a movie.
When it's
not
good,
everything. You have to fill in the gaps yourself, which is why people get into wrestlers as much as they do. You get to see
Byron
Cutler
in the chat saying something that a lot of things are saying. What if Batista's the third guy, and it's just Hollywood running WWE now? But my thing is like, when shit is awesome, when something awesome is happening, nobody cares how flawed it is. When we've got the time to sit back and pick apart this, that, and the next thing, it's because it was an average show and we're looking for something to talk about.
Exactly. As where the Bloodline, the story there, that had a lot of problems with it. There was a lot of holes and issues and things that didn't quite line up and make sense, but it was entertaining, it was fun, and it got wrestling rolling again. So I'm not one to hate. And that's the thing. That's what I want to see in AEW, is a story that catches me, something that's good, something that makes me want to tune in. Not currently. There's nothing that I really have interest in.
The worst thing that I could say about AEW right now is they're about to main event a pay-per-view with two wrestlers that I really respect, and I don't care.
I couldn't give a shit about either one of them in their current form. Edge has done nothing to make a name for himself in AEW to stand on. So the only reason people are cheering for him is everything he's done before he got there. And Moxley's current run is bafflingly bad. So Death Riders need to be neutered.
It's equal and opposite.
Cope is a joke.
It's equal and opposite problems, right? And I'm retreading old ground now. Mox came in and he had a lot of problems in WWE. Ambrose was a little bit goofy towards the end. He came in, he got to be Mox, he got to be himself, turned up to 11, and it was awesome in the initial stages. He was a new person.
Yes.
Right? Edge came in to AEW playing like somebody else cosplaying as Edge.
Yes.
And both of them suck now.
Yeah.
And the things in the things
and he
in the
can't live up to what Edge could do, so he just feels like a shell of his former self. And I'm not trying to poo-poo on AEW because we are going to cover it Saturday, but it's unfortunate because there's nothing that's drawing me. Like WWE, there are tons of stories that aren't just John Cena's heel turn that I care about. Yeah. The Rhea stuff alone is drawing me in. But I also want to see what happens with LA Knight now and Nakamura. I also want to see what happens with Liv and Raquel and these tag titles, and there's questions and
what's actually most
interesting finally.
What's really most interesting to me right now, other than like the very, very, very obvious stuff, like I'm a Punk guy, I want to know what Punk does. I'm becoming a
Damn
Cody guy.
straight.
I'm becoming a Cody guy, so I want to see where that goes. But what's sort of going under the radar is if they are going to do a multi-person match, the only place I can see it being entertaining to me right now is for the Intercontinental Championship. Because right now you've got Braun Breaker as champion, you've got potentially AJ Styles, potentially Finn Balor, potentially Pete Dunne, potentially Ludwig Kaiser, who's on a hell of a push right now.
Yes.
That's a 5-way match that I would love to see
Right.
in a WrestleMania year where I'm tired of all the other people out there saying this needs to be a triple threat. This needs to be a triple
a
threat. This needs
multi-man
to be
match. That's the same thing I said with Liz before. Make sure you check out that video. You know,
everything needs to be a triple threat, and I'm getting sick of that conversation. But despite that, what did I do? I just pitched you a 5-man.
Exactly. I think
I almost pitched you a full Elimination Chamber for friggin' WrestleMania.
Exactly, and that's the thing though. Both mid-card titles being multi-man driven makes sense in some way, shape, or form. So
they got to do something to elevate the U.S. title. The U.S. title is kind of dragging right now.
A little bit, and I think LA Knight might capture it again, and then we could see more going forward. It just seems like they have some other plans to kind of delve into. I'm very excited. The Chamber was a great time. You saw a history being made for sure. Evolve tonight was a lot of fun. You and I have so much to discuss tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down. We're going
to zero in on Roadblock. Yeah,
absolutely. A little bit of NXT that crossover because they've got Sacrifice coming up Friday as well. That will be talking
next Friday.
About next Friday.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a great show. Slamovich defending against Cora Jade, who got rocked but is okay.
We apparently there's 2 or 3 different things. She came out to say, actually, just shout out to her in general and shout out to NXT for just saying, nah, shit's not good. Throw the brakes on.
Exactly.
Let's take care of people. We're not throwing people off of scissor lifts to the concrete, not mentioning AEW specifically.
We're going to stop this match. But no, roster doesn't do that times too. Look at what happened with JD.
It's absolutely true. But no, I hate to hear that somebody got bonked in the head, obviously, but the initial fear was that she had hurt or torn up her leg again.
Yeah.
Which would be the 3rd time, which would be like Tegan Knox level of holy fuck, can't this girl get a break?
Yeah, no.
The fact that she immediately took to social media before the show was even over to basically say, yeah, I got rocked. Don't worry, my knee's fine. Thanks for all the support and whatever. Somebody put it out, and I can't believe I'm actually giving a bit of credit here. It was Sidgwick on What Culture put it out there as like, we know that Cora Jade loves to play heel, but the way the crowd immediately went quiet, started supporting her, wanted to know that she was okay, like in the minute. And the fact that she's gone away for injury, come back, gone away for enhancements, come back, gone away for injury again, come back. Like, eventually you have to start playing on the natural sympathy that people have for this girl.
Yes.
Especially if Roxanne Perez goes
into it going forward.
Yeah.
So
especially if Roxanne Perez goes up to the main roster and that association is already kind of dissolved.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to keep her heel. If she's the one that goes triumphantly into TNA and brings a belt over to NXT, you could get away with sort of turning on a dime and giving her a hero's response.
Jordan Grace said she popped her titty. You know, she ruined an implant. So hey,
Once you do the medical source, the medical sources of delusion and mental illness in people that have silicone implants.
Yes,
that's rough.
And then she said I popped her titty. So a real funny back and forth. Jordan on Twitter is a hell of a follow.
Not to say that Jordan is not gifted in that area either.
No, she goes ahead and even with her own implants, she's like, mine are protected by muscle and so it was very funny.
Damn.
But Spaz, tell them where they can find you, my good sir, because we have so much to cover tomorrow.
We do.
I mean, we are action packed.
I want to say something. Just quickly.
Please.
Like I have a scratch pad here, like just with.
Get through it.
If I just go by what happened at Chamber and just go by what's happening week to week on TV right now, here's WrestleMania so far. Cody Cena, Tiffany Charlotte, Jay Gunther, Priest Drew potentially, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, Karrion Kross potentially, Roxanne Perez coming to the main roster to face either Alexa Bliss or Bayley. Both are very much in the conversation. I kind of said Io and Dakota going for the tag titles before Io won on Raw, so I'll go back to my initial Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss suggestion. Ripley, Bianca, Io, whatever combination of people there. Cargill and Naomi seems set. Whatever combination of Punk, Rollins, Roman. And that's not even getting into the mid-card titles. That's not even speculating on any NXT participation. That's not even including Stand and Deliver, Oi, Oi, Oi.
That doesn't even count. Like you said, the Andre the Giant
away.
Battle Memorial, I'm sure they'll have. I called it the big men, meaty men slapping meat match. See what we get out of that.
We'll get Abyss in there for a cameo. It'll
Absolutely. We'll see how many of the predictions you have right going forward as well, my friend, because it's a stacked time. Usually we know by now pretty much what the card's going to be, and the fact that there's this much up in the air still, I'm excited. I love seeing things progress.
I know it's a simplistic thing to say, and it's off the back of Rumble and Chamber alone. But like, you set up your 4 title matches, and that's your framework, and then you build the house around it, right? So if you look at Cody Cena, Jay Gunther, Charlotte, Tiffany, and even though she's not my favorite person, Bianca Belair versus Io, you got 4 solid matches there.
Yeah,
you could get away with saying, there's your big matches, the rest is filler, and WrestleMania would still be good. And the rest of it's not going to be just filler.
Yeah, because they're saying Roxanne's last match should be Stand and Deliver, but her and Jordynne Grace at Roadblock was considered to be one of her last, so...
I mean, she could have a swan song at Stand and Deliver and have her first main event pay-per-view match in the same weekend.
Yeah, it's not like Bayley at Mania.
Yeah,
night 2, night
I do like the fact
they're
what's it called with I lost my train of thought. With Liv Morgan now being a tag team champion. A secondary option that they teased almost immediately leading into Chamber was Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez. Yeah. That's an intriguing.
That's not a bad combination.
Because
I still want it to be Zarya, but we'll see.
That's true. That's a brand new call up and a really, really emotionally well received return coming together at the same time. Yeah.
To elevate another, that's a great thing. And you're not implying that anyone's sleeping with anybody either, like Becky did. We don't need to even touch on that one. Good job,
You don't
Becky.
need to do that. Like
Cora jumped on her too pretty quick. That got deleted as well, but what a mess.
This weird obsession, and it wasn't Becky, she just quote tweeted somebody else, but this weird obsession with people that don't like Punk and or don't like the success of WWE. And it's like, oh, we'll just kind of randomly throw it out there that Punk might be a pedo. That'll be funny.
Or he's
like,
going
fuck off, man.
Yeah, and how that makes him a pedophile anyways. I didn't know Roxanne was underage, but still, hey,
but it's like,
about their
tell me your dad left to buy cigarettes when you were 5 and didn't come back without telling me that your dad left for cigarettes when you were 5 and never came back.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, talk about dad coming back and whooping your ass and then leaving again too. Some of us had that. I mean,
yeah, and it's not like friggin' they're the only ones that have come out to say, yeah, thanks to Punk for coming down and giving us a hand in NXT. Like Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker, Trick Williams, I think Wesley.
Yeah.
There's definitely some other. Eddie Thorpe was another one.
Shawn Spears, yeah.
Shawn Spears. Well, Shawn Spears and him are just, buddies from the Mud Show.
Yeah, but still.
See him and Ricky Starks hanging out backstage as well.
Love that. That was a great interaction. Definitely seems like that's where they're going for the title at Stand and Deliver. Boy. I'm excited, my friend. So we
got more to talk about tomorrow.
Renaissance. Yeah. We've got so much to talk about tomorrow. I mean, Fraxium and the Hardys alone is like top notch. One of the things I'm looking forward to the most, and that's not even what I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, title versus title for the women, they're not unifying, but we'll have one unified champion, I guess is what they're saying. That's going to be big.
Do you know what I find funny? And this is obviously something we can talk about more tomorrow, but like Roxanne Perez, a lot of people are saying Fraxium are overdue to be called to the main roster. Wouldn't it be hilarious if they won against the Hardys at Roadblock and next week they show up on Monday Night Raw with the TNA tag titles?
Right? Could be nuts with the NXT and TNA
somebody has
titles.
to. Okay, I've been saying it since the beginning, and I know I keep clinging to this, and I'm really glad it wasn't the Heritage Cup, but somebody has to win a title from somebody. You know what? Sorry, I didn't phrase that very well, but you know what I mean. Like somebody has to take somebody else's title.
Exactly.
And this is why I say, like, if you're going to turn Cora Jade babyface, have her be the one that walks into NXT.
Taking on Masha,
yeah.
I'm excited. I think she's going to definitely capture the women's title because she hasn't won a title yet, so it's a big deal for her. And then obviously with the crossover, it's a great work. And then, I said it to you
before, she's been spending more time in TNA than she has in NXT.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, she looks 10 times more comfortable in her skin on TNA than she does in NXT.
I feel like because the expectations of her in NXT is like, oh, she has to be with Roxanne, as where in TNA people are more accepting of her as a solo act, it seems. So,
and maybe the fact that she just gets to slide in there under the shadow of, like, I'm still here as a guest.
Yeah, exactly. But all in all, I'm excited. I mean, there's so much to look forward to with Roadblock. Evolve was really good tonight. Like I said, I enjoyed it.
Kind of disposable.
They have coming up, a little disposable, but it was still fun. Not something I'm going to be covering in the future, but definitely something we'll check out occasionally and keep up with.
Well, we might pop up on here
now and then,
or I might come up at least when we see the in-ring debut of Jessica Carr, or what's her name, Calix.
Yeah, Calix. There's a few that notable names that I definitely want to check out. But thank you so much for everything you provided us from all the footage from the Elimination Chamber. And shouting us out while you were there. I appreciate all the love on Twitter as well. Please, sir, tell everybody where they can find you and get ready for us tomorrow.
Well, first of all, I want to send a quick shout out to the guys over at the Wrestling for Life Network. I know some people from their chats have come over recently and joined our chats and our live streams, etc. I've seen you guys in my comment sections when we've done the podcast content as well. Yeah. So big shout out to those guys. When you're done checking us out, go check out KJ, Big Nick, and Ringsider Anthony over at the Wrestling for Life Network. They do some pretty good shit. Ringsider Anthony doing your best constant weekly TNA coverage that you'll find out there.
Shout out to them for their third birthday. Happy birthday, guys, and congratulations.
Big third birthday for those guys. Those guys are killing it. They got merch. Go send them some love and say Jake and Spaz sent you. But as far as myself, as I said, me and Jake are going to be over on my side of things tomorrow. We're going to be previewing everything to do with NXT Roadblock. You can find me on YouTube at Spaz Phoenix Podcast, on Rumble at Spaz Phoenix Podcast, on Spotify at Spaz Phoenix Podcast, on iTunes at Spaz Phoenix Podcast. I think I'm still on Amazon at Spaz Phoenix Podcast.
And everywhere.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Spaz Phoenix. And that's about it.
Yeah, and that's right. So look out for that video from us tomorrow on the State of Wrestling. We'll be covering everything NXT Roadblock, Stand and Deliver, Oi, 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 and everything else going ahead. Spaz, as always, thank you. Yeah, everybody, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell. We'll be live again, that's right, this weekend for AEW Revolution, and next week for NXT Roadblock and much more. Until then, I hope you all stay sexy and have a great night.
We're going to trek through the mud.